Now, more allegations of corruption among Brazil's political elite are still emerging. This time, the new planning minister is accused of trying to stop proceedings against him and his allies. Well, Caleb Mopin is covering the story for us and can give us a bit of detail here. So, Caleb, what is Brazil's planning minister being accused of then exactly?
Well, the largest newspaper in Brazil has released a transcript of a conversation that took place between Romero Yucca, who was a senator at the time, and Sergio Machado, who is a high-ranking oil executive. Now, both of these figures have gone on to be high-ranking members of the interim government set up by Michel Temer in the aftermath of Dilma's ouster. Now, the conversation purportedly shows them talking about stalling the investigations of Petrobras, the government-owned oil company. Let's take a look at what's being said.
We need to change the government to stop this bleeding. I'm talking to the generals, the military commanders. They're fine with this. They said they will guarantee it.
Now, Sergio Machado has confirmed that this conversation took place, but he denies that it was actually a call to stall the investigations. He said he actually supports the investigations that are going on. Now, this recorded conversation, this transcript that's been released, is being understood widely to be kind of a confirmation of what was said by the recently deposed president, Dilma Roussef. She says this was a coup, an essential coup, a distortion of Brazil's legal process in order to remove her from office. Let's listen to what she said.
They want to put me on trial for what they say is breaking budget laws. But budget deficit has never been a crime, and it hasn't become one in this time. There's absolutely no reason to consider it a crime. That's why this impeachment is simply a coup.
Now, this tape is expected to put pressure on the new administration, the interim administration of Michel Temer, who has taken office now that Dilma Rousseff has been removed. Now, supporters of Dilma Rousseff and the Workers' Party continue to maintain that her removal from office was illegal. It violated procedure, and she was illegally removed from office, that the people working against her conspired in violation of Brazilian law. And protests continue to take place all around Brazil against the new government.
OK, thanks, Caleb. That was RT's Caleb Mopin there, live there from the United States. Thanks. Well, we can get more now, too, from Daniel Shaw, who's a Latin American specialist lecturing at City University of New York. Good evening to you. Thanks for coming on to the programme this evening. We were hearing there, weren't we, about these sort of leaked documents and from the planning minister's comments. Do you think that this actually shows... Does this give weight to the claims that this was a coup, do you think? What's your interpretation of what you've heard?
These are blockbuster revelations that there was collusion on the part of the oil executives of Petrobras and the senators and the rest of the good old boys club, Machado, Eduardo Cunha. And there was collusion because they could not win at the polls, so they sought to undemocratically impeach Dilma Rousseff and roll back the clock decades on what has been 13 years of social progress, with Dilma Rousseff and Lula at the helm of this social process.
So how do you think these leaks will actually affect proceedings today, then? Do you think this puts Michel Temer under a lot of pressure?
It definitely reveals who's truly behind this coup, and it reveals their undemocratic intentions. Millions of people have come into the streets of Brazil and across the world to denounce this as a coup. So Michel Temer and the rest of the good old boys club is definitely feeling the enormous pressure of the masses of people who come into the streets to say, no vai ter golpe, there will be no coup. And Dilma Rousseff and the MST and the Workers' Party are continuing to resist what is one coup in a long history of coups in Latin America, supported by the U.S. and right-wing forces in Latin America.
So where do you think sort of things will progress from here then? Because from what you say, it sounds like it could actually win Dilma Rousseff more support. Do you mean, is there a chance that she can actually come back into power?
Definitely, there's a huge chance. The Brazilian people will ultimately have the last say. Right now, this is a media coup. This is a global-led coup. 91 million Brazilians every day tune into Globo, and to be thoroughly brainwashed or indoctrinated by their message. So people are taking to grassroots media, into the international media, so they can get a true perspective on this. And the Brazilian people are going to rise up like a giant and realize their power, in that Dilma Roussef represented social gains, rights for the poor, rights that now Temer seeks to usurp. Programs like Bolsa Familia and Fome Zero, and all of these the progressive social programs that they seek to undo with their austerity measures.
OK, Daniel, look, we'll leave it there, but thanks very much for your insight into this story. That was Daniel Shaw there, who's a Latin American specialist lecturing at the City University of New York. Thank you. You're watching RT International. More news in about half an hour's time. Up next, though, it's a Sophie & Co. And that looks at the price the EU is paying for its Russian sanctions.